second graders. We're continuing with our book, Mercy Watson to the Rescue, and we are on chapter 8 today. Ma'am, and we're going to practice our stop and jot that we've been talking about in reading today. So at the end of chapter 8, we're going to write on a sticky what we think happened in the story or what we know we read. Ma'am, said Lorenzo to Baby, did you call the fire department? Oh dear, said Baby, I did not. But Eugenia may have called. Who is Eugenia? Asked Ned. My sister, said Baby. Is that her? Asked Lorenzo, the one chasing the pig. Yes, said Baby, that's her. Baby and Ned and Lorenzo watched Eugenia chasing Mercy through the yard. Lorenzo cleared his throat. What's the emergency exactly? Asked Ned. I thought I saw a monster at my bedroom window, said Baby, but it was not a monster. It was Mercy. Mercy? Asked Lorenzo. The pig, said Baby, the pig who lives next door. I see, said Ned. Eugenia does not care for Mercy, said Baby. In her opinion, pigs belong on farms. Well, there's something to be said for that opinion, said Lorenzo, and Ned nodded. Help! Shouted a faraway voice. Help! Help! Help us! Did you hear that? Asked Ned. Somebody is in trouble, said Lorenzo. Let's go. So that's the end of chapter 8. Can you think in your head right now what you think happened in that story? What would you write on your sticky to tell what that chapter was about? Okay, here is what I wrote. I said the firemen wanted to know who called the fire department. They figured out it was Eugenia. Then they heard the Watsons cry for help. So what I want to do is take that sticky and I'm going to put it at the end of chapter 8 so that I know when I go back to read that little sticky, it will remind me what I read in chapter 8. Let's do the same with chapter 9. Ned and Lorenzo ran toward the call for help. They went into the Watsons' house. Help! Ned and Lorenzo looked up. They saw a bed hanging out of the ceiling. They saw Mr. and Mrs. Watson holding onto the bed for dear life. Oh, look at that picture. That just kind of tells you how scary the situation is. We are saved, cried Mrs. Watson. Of course we are saved, said Mr. Watson. Mercy has alerted the fire department. She is amazing, said Mrs. Watson. She is unbelievable. She's a porcine wonder, said Mr. Watson. Ned and Lorenzo ran upstairs. They picked up Mr. and Mrs. Watson. The Watsons' bed sighed loudly and crashed all the way through the floor. Uh-oh. So they were saved just in time, weren't they? Boom! Mr. Watson looked at the hole where the bed used to be. I've always believed very firmly in the fire department, said Mr. Watson. As have I, said Mrs. Watson. As have I. From outside the Watsons' house came a squeal. Gotcha! Shouted Eugenia. Uh-oh. They've got quite a hole in their floor, don't they? So what do you think in your head right now? I want you to think back what we just read in chapter 9. What would you write on your sticky to remind yourselves what happened in chapter 9? Here's what I wrote. The firemen saved the Watsons. They thought Mercy had called for help. The bed fell through the door after the Watsons were saved. So I'm going to put that on this page because it is the end of chapter 9. Now the awesome thing is, if you notice, now that I'm doing my stop and jots, at every chapter I'm going to have a little note that reminds me what happened in that chapter so that when I'm done, I can go back and read all of my stickies, and that will help me remember what I've read. Isn't that awesome? Okay, we'll continue tomorrow with chapter 10.